Hello and welcome to Envision Prototypes. My name's Nick and today we're working on the front end of my 51 Ford. Now when I bought the car, it didn't come with any of the front trim work, the front bumper that was missing, lower valance, who knows where that thing went to. The front fenders, heck, they're even different from side to side, just a little bit. But that's okay, because what that gives us is a thing called artistic freedom. Now, I went ahead and printed off a photograph on a piece of paper and sketched out what I'm planning for it. And it's gonna look something like this. Oh, like this. One more time, like this. There we go, just like that. But it might be a bit hard for you to see where the lines are going. So I grabbed some 1/4" rod and outlined what I'm planning. There we go. Now 99.92% of the time, I'll create a template for what I want to create out of sheet metal. And that's what I'm doing here. I just took a piece of, it's a little bit heavier than tissue paper, overlaid it over the buck, and now I'm just kind of tracing out where the sheet metal is going to be. And we're working on this lower piece here. Now, this rod down here, it's a very abrupt angle change from the vertical plane down to the underside. And I don't think it's going to look very good if we have a very abrupt angle here. I want a kind of a soft radius, kind of like on the rockers. So all this is indicating is the lower portion of where this panel we create is going to end up. What's going to happen is we're going to roll down on the inside of that and end up at this level back there. That's all that's doing. This is just a little bit quicker to create this over here than form up a whole corner using 1/4" rod. I'm lazy, but if you need to do that, do it because it's going to help you create your piece. I'm using a razor blade, guiding it along the sheet or the rod. Like that. We got another rod here. Oops. Okay, that doesn't matter, it's garbage. We can remove this upper section because it's in our way. We're going to be opening up this wheel arch a little bit more, so I'm going to let that run wild. The line is going to be a little bit further ahead than where I created this cut. So when we sight the car from the side, we'll take and determine where this ends up. And that's it there. Now I'm going to make the cut along the bottom here, basically indicating where the bottom of the car is going to be. Come on. There. Come on. Magnets are great. There. Until they stick to your razor blade. Okay. So that's essentially the piece we're going to create. We don't need this tail here. If we just came down and rolled in 90 degrees, it would make this front corner look very heavy. And I'm trying to reconfigure the front so that we kind of make it look a bit lighter, less bulky. So I think that's going to be it. We will add maybe 2 inches to the bottom of this, 1.5-ish, and that'll, like I said, roll in on the other side of that rod. So once we have most of these pieces created and clamped, marked where they have to be, I'll take and pull this buck off, and I'll start forming the sheet metal that's on the car to the shape that I've outlined. Like this corner is going to be gone, obviously. We'll have to add a piece in here. There's a flanger rolls in. We'll have to take and cut this off. There's some holes there, and we'll just take and fill that corner in, rolling in from here. That's fine there. There's going to be that bar that goes through here. This panel is going to roll in, and we have to keep the adaptive cruise control module exposed. Not sure how it's going to look through the mesh. We might actually relocate it down below here. It might look better instead of chopping a hole in the mesh. We have to make sure that the bracket is rigid enough so this thing doesn't chatter when you're driving down the road. Aside from that, it shouldn't be a big issue to move it down here. And there's our template. Just make a mark at the top. Driver's side, top. What we have here is the beginnings of this front corner in sheet metal now. So what I'm going to do is break it around that bend, kind of give it a rough shape. Just the beginnings. Now we could take and just weld this onto the fender, form it around here, call it a day. But it looks stuck on. It doesn't have the graceful curves that the 50 Fords do. If you've been watching our channel, you know what I'm about to do with this material down below here. If you're new to our channel, we're going to make a little bit of noise. And it might shock you to see how mangled up this panel is going to look. Mangled to you. How mangled it's going to get. Because we have to take this material, roll it down, and shrink it. Because there's way too much here to do anything with. We can take and wheel this up and bring it out, bringing that down. But that'll take a lot of wheeling. It'll be a lot quicker if we take and roll this down and create a bunch of tucks here and shrink this material into itself and then go ahead and wheel that up. little bit of one, a little bit of the other, and we should get a piece that's going to look like it belongs on the front of this car. I want a nice round corner here. Like I mentioned, that rod is just on the extreme point. This panel is going to roll in right here, and you can just imagine the height of this panel we weld on is going to be back in here. All right, guys, after a few minutes on the stump, we're done. That's it. We'll take and weld this on, smooth these ripples out with some Bondo. Later on, of course, not right now because we're still doing some other metal work. And this panel's finished. We have a long way to go. We have to take and all this material that's bunched up, we have to take and shrink those tucks. These are called tucks into each other. So basically close the end in and beat the material on the stump into itself. We've got the curve we want, but it doesn't look too pretty. Now we might have to do this 2-3 times, who knows, until we get the curvature we want. So we start at one end here. Close the end in. You can see how it's kind of down. We give it one sharp tap in the middle. Boom. We just shrank that. Looking good. Okay, let's do it again. Second series of tucks. Close them in. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. We gotta do it again. A little more aggressive this time. Okay, the end's drawn down. It's closed, so by doing this, the material can't escape. If I just hit that, we just flatten it out. By closing it like that, it doesn't allow the material to run away. We hit that there, it is finished. It's shrunk, just like that. That's enough noise. Let's go to the English wheel and smooth that out. You might be looking at it and think this is a total write-off because that looks pretty nasty, but we'll get this cleaned up in a few minutes. I'm going to open this up and see how that's bending upward now, because we shrunk that material. We've reduced the amount of material along this edge. There's a kind of a funny thing going on there. Okay, so that's about as flat as we can get it. Now we can go ahead, get this in the wheel and clean this up. Yeah, we might have a little too much curvature here. We can always take and stretch this back out and fit it to what we need. But for now, I think we're going to be quite busy smoothing this out. can see there's hardly any pressure that I'm applying downward. Applying just enough to roll out those walnuts. I can still get the sheet in without too much, without jamming it in. You can see we're cleaning this up quite nicely. This has to be cleaned up a lot more, obviously, but we're getting there. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to shrink it one more time. Let's clean this up a tad more and beat it all up again. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting a really nice shape to it. You can see we're still a bit wrinkly there. That'll smooth out. I'm going to move the bend line a little further up to increase that radius a smidgen more. And for you guys who are not familiar with the word smidgen, it means a little bit more. So most of our bends happening on that line, I'm going to move it up, causing more material to roll in underneath. Looks a lot worse than the first time. But you hear it's starting to sing, and we're nowhere near being done. So we're gonna have to take and level that out. That'll roll out, smooth out, and we should try to be able to fit it. Okay, long way away. You can see this curvature here and how much curvature we have. And I'm using a relatively flat anvil. You don't want to create more tracking marks. By using a very high crown anvil. Wow. Let's go fit this up on the car and see how close we are with that front buck. So we got the nice curvature that we wanted back here. I'm not saying it's right where we need it, but we're getting close. It's not bad, but we need to take and shrink the center a little bit more. It's too open. This panel has to curve around a bit tighter. So that's going to sit in like that. We have our radius, and that comes down to there. Okay, let's beat this up again. Okay, I think that's going to be it for beating this thing up. Yeah, that's going to work out quite well. We have a nice radius here, nice curvature. Yes. What I'll probably end up doing is removing this rod here and bracing this up to somewhere and removing this so we can fit this with a little bit less hassle. It was a quick buck. It took me, I don't know, 10 minutes. Kind of wrapped this to whip this up here. But just to get an idea and show you guys where we're going. Right now, I'm going to clean this up. I'll probably form up the other one before taking this apart. I'll leave the center section, but I'll take and brace this up and remove that so we can fit that a little bit better. Bear down too hard and you can't roll it out. So you start off with a little bit of light pressure. I'm working my way out to the edge, kind of cleaning this up first, working my way out, because I don't want to keep jumping off the end of the wheel, end of the sheet. In case you're wondering about this Ripley bottom edge, that'll be addressed once the panel has been shaped to its final shape. We'll take and turn an edge on it, strengthen it, so we don't have a raw edge up underneath. The other thing, I'm going to take and actually switch out to a high crown anvil. I need to bring this radius up just right here, stretch this up a little bit because it's a bit flat. You can see the reflection is more prominent here, fades out here, gets prominent again there. Yeah, on the other hand, let's not do that. Let's go this way. That's better. All right, gang, I think we're on the home stretch with these corners, plural, yes. I gotta be careful now because I don't want to create any tracking marks like that one there in this radius. So we'll have to get that cleaned up. And we are, like I said, just about there. This corner is where it has to be. We just need to clean up this upper surface because if you watched our other wheeling videos, when you wheel up a section like this area, if you don't follow it up with enough stretch, you'll have a concavity. So we have to take and stretch this up just a tiny bit and then touch up that tracking mark that I just put in. This is the passenger side. I had to check, make sure I didn't make two of the left side. Now, you might be yelling at your TV saying, hey, hey, whoa, you told us not to wheel this way when you're wheeling up a panel. When I was doing the motorcycle fender. Well, that was then, this is now. This is a different situation. What we're doing is just kind of washing out the panel, smoothing out anything that might be affecting the reflections. Just try to sneak in a little bit without affecting the radius. Hopefully I don't have to change lower anvil. And I think we're just about there. You see, getting the rough shape, that doesn't take too long. Relatively speaking. It's the fine tuning and getting the panel to fit exactly the way it needs to on the car. That's where the time takes. I gotta make sure this radius is consistent all the way through and then starts fading out by the time it reaches the front lower scoop. All right. That's good there. This is probably trimmed away because we're gonna be trimming, I left it running wild, so we'll probably trim it in through here somewhere. Not concerned about that. The rest of this feels good. And we'll get the passenger side piece in place in a minute. Driver's side is where it needs to be. That's done. So these areas will be radiused, and then we need to take and tip this top edge downward and add a flange so we can bolt it to the fender. This lower fascia area is going to be removable because you want to be able to disassemble your panels in the event you get into an accident or mess it up going into a driveway. Yes, it has happened. Not to me, but to someone that needed our services. And the whole front end was one big piece. Not a good thing because you're really getting into a lot of unnecessary work later on. Okay, now if you're looking at this panel, you can see all these weird little caricatures. That's all the material that we shrunk into itself as we worked on a stump. These little weird curves and whatever. Now I just noticed we have a flat spot right there. That looks good. Roll it around, bit of a flat spot. So I'm going to take and bring that, just that up. I'm going to throw a relatively high crown anvil in and just bring that little spot up. Didn't even notice it until I got talking, showing you guys. I'm going to bring it up and blend it in. It's close. And that's it. No more flat spot. It feels good. Maybe something there. You can't even see it, but you can feel it. When you run your hand over it, you can feel it. Ta-da! All right, we're done the driver's side piece. Okay, so this piece goes in here. I've already taken and removed this lower buck area. It was interfering. Mentioned earlier, this was the ultimate bottom edge of our fascia. We couldn't go any lower than that. And that was actually supposed to be sitting back in there. But it was a little more complicated to form up. I just left it out here. Now that we have the panel fitting where we need to, I've cut that away. And that's going to sit just like that. Witness line lines up over there. We'll have to tip that over. Got a few over there, and that's pretty much it. So, oops, I won't fall any further. So when we get to a stage where we can cut this off, we can start fitting this in for the final time. I need to make up a few more pieces in the middle. I'm going to show you something on the passenger side. Okay, let's see if we can get in here. Hardly, but a little further. Oh, there we go. You can see that rod down below on the inside, and it has to follow the curvature of the panel. The panel has to follow the curvature of the rod. We can't have any gaps this way or that way. Actually, I'm sitting in the wrong spot. So now you probably can't see it at all, barely. So what I'm trying to say is this rod, which mimics this curvature, this panel has to fit that rod exactly all the way through. We can't have any highs or lows or have it rocking. And oh, actually, you can just see, I hope so, maybe not, a very telltale sign of the rod rubbing on the panel right there. There's kind of a line. Let's see if I can get any closer. Maybe the editing will, zoom in on that. I don't know. So anyway, we're touching all the way through, and we have a little spot right there. That's going to be rolled over inside. Not a problem with that. So where this panel is where it needs to be. Now we can go ahead and cut off that lower section, remove it, and start fitting these pieces in place without the flanges being rolled yet. We can do that later on. And we can form up the center bar and start joining these three lower pieces together. And then we can go ahead and fill up these corners, reshape that hood, and just finalize the front end on this. Hopefully we can get it done in this video. We'll see. All right, so let's get some clamps, get this in place. All right, that's not too bad there. Just comparing the drawing, what we have on the drawing as to what we have on the car. The radius looks quite nice there. Have a nice soft radius up in here, as well as a nice soft radius there. Ah, that's better, see? Just tipped a little bit, that's where it's got to be sitting right there. So I can take and go ahead and scribe, boy, that feels nice. I can go ahead and scribe these rods. That, and to the top side there. From template that we created earlier to an actual piece. Now, we don't need to do anything here in the middle. We don't need to create anything except for this feature piece, this bumperette, if you will, Nerf bar, that's going to go across the whole front and divide the grille opening. There'll be mounts created on the ends, so that'll come in later. Right now, I need to create a piece that's going to go in, have a peak here, and basically finish off this lower area, rolling underneath. And we might form up, I should cut this out, and we might, see, the fender is currently sitting on these pieces. There's no structural components holding these fenders on the car just yet. The way I approach this is we set all the panels up, gapped everything, tacked them to each other, to the doors, to the underside, spaced them here. I'm going to form up all the sheet metal, take everything off, then create the structure and reassemble it. And hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will work out. So we're not going to be cutting off that just yet. We can adjust the hood, lots of room to work in there, but these corners, we're going to leave them for now. Okay. Okay, we're done with the stump. About 38 inches. Okay, that's pretty close there. So what we have here is a strip of paper that I got, and that's going to mimic. This is called the dirty glove tracing method.
Dirty glove tracing method.
It's going to get us into the ballpark of where we need to be for this part. All right, so there's a top, there's a bottom to this, and there's a center. And the center is right here. That's good. And that's good. This flexing bothers me. So I'm gonna make sure we have enough material. Let the piece sit naturally. Kind of wants to move around. Okay, what do we have here? I need 2 inches. Roughly. Because we're going to do some trimming as well. Looks good. 2, 2, and 2. Wow. No, we're not worried about that. Okay. We cut it off there. And this piece is going to get us going. I'm going to get this clamp back in place and then scribe that rod onto the actual sheet metal. That'll give us a more accurate line, and we have to start making our bends. I should indicate an approximate center line. I think that's going to be good right there. Now, I don't want to mar or mark up this piece, but I don't want it to move either. Just light pressure. I hope that doesn't fall. I could put a piece of sheet metal or something in between the clamp, but let's just hope this works out here. So now we can go ahead and start bending this. We want a soft radius on this fascia piece. We don't want a really crisp line on there. Okay, now the trick with this is I've scribed the rod. Actually, that wouldn't be too bad just to follow the line. It'd be a lot easier. I was going to say we're going to move in on the inside because the rod is actually sitting on the inside, the Sharpie is on the outside, but a little more width I think will look good. So let's do that. Medium pressure, and let's get rolling. That's the first one. As soon as you lose some flop in the panel, it's actually easier to wheel it. Or to tip it. Okay. So I could use a reciprocating hammer for this, but the problem is this tapers. And I'm following the taper precisely. Now we're going to have to do some shrinking on this piece to get it to conform to what's on the front of the car. But we can't use tuck shrinking because it's a little too aggressive. We'll have to use the kick shrinker and gently bring it in. The center area, we might actually cut it and bring the two together and weld them. Getting a little twisted up. Not a problem though. We'll get it straight. It's not bad. Let's increase the pressure a little bit. Okay, I think we're getting close. Not really. We need to keep rolling it over. Now we can only get so far because if you can see what's happening, this is now starting to hit that top wheel. If I increase the pressure much more, we're going to create something that we don't want in this area. So the rest will have to be done by hand. Now you could say, well, why didn't I just roll one up and then do the other one outside? Well, here we have a more consistent bend that's started already. We have a nice soft radius, you can see that. And the rest we can bring down by hand, fine tune it, finish it. See a nice round bull nose we have now? That's exactly what I was after. I didn't want a sharp crease here, just nice soft radius. These ends, we'll be trimming them off, fitting them to what's over there, because as you can see, I'm trying to curve around the wrong way there. And I think that's going to be it. So this is the top. That's going to slide in right like that, but you can see we can't get it in because this is a very straight line and we have quite the peak going on here. I want to get a sharp crease through here, so let's cut it. So now that I have this cut, I'd like to figure out how much material we can get rid of as well. Okay, that's looking good. Center. This module is going to have to be relocated down below. That's not a problem. I don't want to adjust the bodywork to accommodate something like that. I'll sooner adjust that. Now, these are very straight lines. This has a gentle curve to it. I'm going to take and shrink this top leg, cut the back leg, bottom leg back a bit, and then we're going to take and shrink this back leg to give it a very slight curve. And then these corners, once we roll that in, we'll have to put pieces in here as well as here. But we can do that later on. We will do that later on. Yep, we're good. I'll need this to tip down. So once we get this position back in here, that'll get tipped down. I may put a screw through here just to hold it for us. Right on. Okay, let's get a couple screws in there. With that done, we can now go ahead and change the top of this. Just trying to, so we need to take and finish those pieces off, cut the ends of the fenders, the bottoms off, bring this up underneath, tack it, get this finalized, then create this. We also need to take and notch out these corners and fill these holes in. Still a lot to do. Building a car ain't easy. We're gonna take and fabricate some pieces to go into here and do something like, just cut that right through there. Chop, chop. Same thing over here. Kind of like that. We're going to take and weld our new piece in right through here. See, this bumper is aluminum. This crash beam is aluminum. Can't weld to it. So we need to drop down to something that gives us some strength to hold these fenders, hood assembly in place. So when we pulled these fender bucket areas forward 2 inches, we also have to reshape the front of this hood. Now this side, this hood's been bent. This side was in a lot more than the passenger side. So we're gonna have to make adjustments to those curvatures in here as well as to the hood. Make sure they match up because we can't have that offset. And this will probably be formed up out of some 16 gauge and we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be fun. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some rod, some 1/2-inch rod, go up inside to the flange that I used to hold the front core support. And I'm gonna take and tack a rod from there down to this box tubing, and that'll allow us to remove these corners without the whole front end falling down. These pieces of box tubing are clamped to this crash beam here, so that's not going anywhere. We just have to reinforce these temporarily so they stay up and the whole front end doesn't fall down. I don't want to disassemble all this just yet. I want to form up these pieces and then we can go ahead and start finishing off those corners. Okay, so I went ahead and got that front fender area restructured, got some rods in there. And what I'm working on now are those 2 top corner pieces. Just giving them the curvature. Actually, you can see from that way. Again, I made up a template, transposed it, and now I'm forming the metal pieces. Now, because I'm going around a radius here, or curvature, this area will need to be stretched because as you can see, it's going to turn into a banana in a minute. We're getting close. Let me throw this in the kick shrinker, stretch this out, touch it up, and we'll go fit this. Now these are the times when I use the extremely flat anvils, just to kind of stretch out flanges like this. Well, that was odd. Just working it through, getting rid of those little bite marks. Not from the jaws, but from the edges of the jaws. All right, let's go fit this piece, see if we can kind of fill in the rest of those holes. I've got one side fitted over there, not looking too bad. I have to do this side. And then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, so we do have a chunk of steel in the way there. It's kind of holding us up. But aside from that, we've got the curve we need. So I'm happy with that. Let's throw a clamp on here. Kind of like that. maybe let's put a clamp in here. Will it stay? It'll stay. There we go. We have a little fine tuning to do to get everything fitted. But, can we lose these clamps? Not really. Ah. Can I put a few screws in? Yes. Doesn't that look a lot better without the clamps? Okay. There's one more thing I'm going to add to this front end. We're not going to finish this today. I'll tell you why. I want to rough this in, have a look at it. We can roll these flanges, take the time, roll everything over. But if there's something I don't like about it, we just spent a whole bunch of time making pieces that will be very difficult to rearrange if we need to. They're close. I am happy with it today. I've had the picture up on the wall. I've been looking at it. It's nice. But I want to stand back and actually see the car, what it's going to look like on the ground instead of up in the air like this. One last thing we're going to do with this is we're going to get a piece of cardboard, bend it up, and kind of attach it to here so to kind of mimic the center bar. I'm not going to use sheet metal. I don't want to waste it just yet. Like I said, we're going to run with 16 gauge to take a piece of whatever and stick it in. Kind of a waste. So we're going to wait with that, except we're going to put it in a piece of cardboard and stand back, take a look at this. And like I got to say, it's one of the reasons I'll never have a tattoo is I'll do a rendering, a picture, whatever, and I'll put it up on the wall. And today I'll love it. I'll look at it now. That's amazing. Tomorrow I'll see something on there that I just can't stand. And if I got a tattoo and if I saw something on it didn't like, it'd just be bugging me all the time. I hear they sell sleeves that you can kind of put up over your arms. And anyway, I dug up a piece of cardboard. Let's go bend this. Nothing fancy, just a really quick bend. Okay, so I have something that looks like what I want to do. And here we go. Yeah, I wish it was longer. Darn. We're going to make a cut halfway. I was kind of hoping it was a little bit longer, but this is all I could find. There. Okay. If we don't breathe on it, that should be fine for now. Ignore that vice grip, these chunks of steel here. Kind of look beyond that. Look at the overall picture. And you're also going to have to use your imagination, taking these ends and extending them out to about here and round them off. So just use that third eye of yours up there and just imagine it to be out in that area. It's not looking too bad. Looks different. The 50 Ford, I think I have the bezel. And this is what the 50 had. This is a 51. They took the hood, cut into it, recessed this in, and that's sat just like that with a little bezel, V8, whatever on there. Personally, on the 50 it looked good. On the 51, based on what we have here, we're going to be, it's a lively one. This has to come up just a little bit, I think. But overall, I'm liking the way that front end looks. I think this is sticking out a bit much. Yeah, so we're going to probably push this back. Just the 5 minutes that we're looking at it right now. This point is a little too extreme. Or it could be the fact that these are diving in too far. So like I said, we have to look at that. We'll get this on the ground, stand back, and have a look-see. Throw it down in the comments. Let me know what you think as to if we're headed in the right direction with this. There's still time to make changes. We're not finishing this up just yet. We'll probably get things moved around and start working on the back and kind of rough that in as well. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much. Catch you in the next one. See, I just took my gloves off, stood back over there, and looked at the ends and got thinking, what if we took and narrowed that down. So we have this width here, but it kind of gets a bit narrower as it extends out to the ends. That's what I'm talking about. We could make it a consistent width and not like it because it looks a bit too heavy, or we can refine it just a little bit by thinning that out and flowing it out to the ends. So anyway, take care.